Hey, True Believers. Chris Mack coming at you today with Batman and Robin number 15. This was a pre-Flashpoint book and still probably one of my favorite definitive later in life Batman books. Grant Morrison really knocked it out of the park. Now with that said, it is Grant Morrison and there are a few parts where you're just kind of stopping, you're wondering what is going on. But nonetheless, it was great storytelling, beautiful artwork, and I just wanted to show off this issue. The print date on this was November 2010, and just some quick backstory, because you do have to have some backstory in order to understand a lot of the plot devices. Grant Morrison wrote an event called Final Crisis, and at the end of it, it shows Batman and Darkseid fighting, and Darkseid allegedly killing Batman. So at that point, Dick Grayson takes up the mantle of Batman, and it's Damian. They've moved out of the mansion. They're living in the penthouse with Alfred, and it's just a very different dynamic, and it was very much a fresh take on the Caped Crusader. Like, I felt like if they ever decided to get rid of Bruce, this was the route that they should have went. Now, a lot of things have happened. There's a lot of plots up to this point. The Joker was pretending to be a hero to gain Robin's trust. I cannot remember what the character's name is. If you guys can remember, let me know down in the comments. But here it's revealed that it's the Crown Prince of Prime. The Crown Prince of Prime. We're gonna go with that. I'm not even gonna correct it. And just look at this horrific, beautiful artwork of the Joker dancing with a corpse. This looks almost like an Adam Hughes piece, but it's not. But nonetheless, just, I mean, look at the attention to details on the face. That is some quality artwork right there. These, I think, is pastel or oil. Just really adds to the macabre. And you just see the Joker saying, "Darling, let's seal this with a kiss. You and I were made for each other, funny bones." And that's very much the Joker. And, you see all this madness that he's doing, but it leads up to him saying, "Who's there?" "Why, Robin, my dear." "Robin who?" "Robin Graves." And yeah, he has Damian locked up in a coffin, which don't even want to think about that. But as you can see, he's laying there, and you can tell that Damian here is none too happy. And Joker's like, "What'd you say?" And he's just, "Ah!" And just gorgeous work. And then just seeing Robin forced to be looking like a clown is actually kind of hilarious. So the story is called Batman and Robin Must Die, Part 3, The Night, Death, and the Devil. This is Grant Morrison writing, artist Frazier Irving, letter Patrick Brosseau, and then there's everyone else working on the book, and Batman was created by Bill Finger with Bob Kane. So while all this is happening, Thomas Wayne is allegedly back from the dead, which, even though this is the villain, I do kind of feel he kind of just shake up the Bat books to kind of bring him back. Not the way that Tom King brought the Flashpoint Batman back, because that was bad. But just to kind of see what would happen in that regard. I mean, I know comics and people are sick of people coming back from the dead, but it would just be interesting to see what happens with Thomas and Martha Wayne back. Would Batman still be Batman? Would he give up his quest? It would just be interesting to see those type of questions. I mean, they kind of touched on it in the animated series where Jervis Tex has Batman hooked up to that machine, and he knows something's wrong even though he wants to give in to this life. But here, this is more for ulterior motives. And I like that Morrison actually uses like a TikTok ticking clock analogy, kind of going past the time when his parents were murdered. And what I love with the artwork here by Frazier, I think I'm pronouncing his name right, is he's like, "You remember me, Alfred, old chap, don't you?" "Oh, yes, sir, I remember you well." And you can see just by the work here that Alfred is very much what's the word I'm looking for? Hesitant. He knows something's not right. And even in the artwork here, I like how the blues just shadow his face, and then just like how they would do with old movie monsters and older shows where the villain, they would exaggerate their features. And here, even though this is supposed to be Thomas Wayne, look at how his face exaggerated the lines, the shadows, the deep pitted dark eyes, the half smile. So we'll get to that in a moment, but I just wanted to point that out. So in the midst of Thomas Wayne coming back, Bruce Wayne missing, and people saying that he's been acting insane because there's a plot point on that, go back and read the earlier issues. There's also a pandemic, go figure. There's a pandemic going on that are causing people to go insane with rage, which makes me think of 28 Days Later. It's like, they're infected. Infected with what? With rage. But yeah, so Gotham's essentially quarantined. And Thomas Wayne here is just acting very calm. He's like, I believe I found a problem to the solution. I fear Gotham's recovery may come at a price. So you can see that not everything is swell. And then we get back to the Joker. And I like that the analogy that Joker is doing where, Robin's saying, I'm not a pawn in this game. And the Joker's like, in the hands of a grandmaster, the pawn can be the most dangerous piece on the plate. And so Robin just has had enough. He turns around and goes, I could crush your windpipe before you get a chance to speak another word. And you can feel the tension going on with this quarantine, this ticking clock, with Damian just having enough of the Joker's crap. And at one point, the Joker actually says something that I really like. He says, one part of growing up is to learn your limitations, boy. And so, again, and they're talking about Dr. Hand, which we will get into in a moment, or Dr. Hurt, I'm sorry. He's part of the Black Hand cult or whatever. But anyway, he's saying Dr. Hurt wants to play chess with the Joker. And he's saying being a pawn is your best option, trust me. I offered Dr. Hurt dominoes, but he wants to play chess. Chess with the Joker. And it's just very well written, and you feel the suspense. And so Robin is kind of having an uneasy alliance with the Joker. Joker lets him go, and he goes after Professor Pig. Now, Gordon is trying to fight these withdrawals of this pandemic. And the Professor Pig's like, oh, you need a bad operation, Commissioner Gordon. But as I was saying, the facilities are excellent. They have Dr. Ha-Ha and Dr. Johnny Be Damned, all the top names. And that's what I like about Morrison, is he's like on another level of writing. And even though it kind of feels weird, you still have to have like this macabre sense of humor to get it. But yeah, and then look at the artwork, the way Robin swings in, saves Commissioner Gordon, and how you see the, what do you call it, what is this stuff? Windshield, glass. I knew I'd get to it. Just shattering everywhere. Professor Pig flying out. That is some gorgeous painting right there. I mean, look at the pain on Gordon's face, even though it looks like he has more like a Jerry curl. And that took me a minute when I first read this way back in the day. But that was another thing about this book, is Morrison always made sure to get some great artists. I know everyone's not a big fan. Well, in the comic scene, sure, but I know that Frank Quitely's not a huge taste. It's an acquired taste. Like, for example, this cover was done by Frank Quitely, which I think is gorgeous. And then Frazier did the inside work, and the Quitely was on the what you call it, the first half of Batman and Robin, and then he took over. So nonetheless, I always like that Morrison always makes sure to get different styles to always help tell the story. And then again here, he doesn't get too wordy. He can, and there's books I've read where I'm just like, oh my God, shut up. But this one, it's paced. Professor Pig sets his withdrawal fiends on everyone, and I love how Robin just takes off. And then we get these awesome dynamic panels, and just the negative blue just showing the darkness. You don't need any more color than that. Just gorgeously done. And sadly, remember how the Joker said, one thing about growing up is to learn your limitations? Yeah, well, sometimes Damian has to go to the school of hard knocks to understand things. But what I like about Damian is at times he can learn to swallow his pride. And again, the one thing that I liked about the dynamic of Dick and Damian is Commissioner Gordon kind of betrayed Batman in this sense. What am I talking about? Read the book. But he's captive now of Dr. Hurt. And he goes, great. I knew I could count on you. And as they throw Damian down, he goes, too many. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I didn't listen. I think that's what I like about Damian is he could be a little prick. But he's still fighting against all the programming of Ra's al Ghul. And so, he does what he can. And then we get this panel, which is violent, but beautifully done. I mean, look at the way Dr. Hurt here is thrown in these like blacks and reds. Dick Grayson in these light blues, and then the explosion from the gun. I mean, horrific to look at, don't get me wrong, but gorgeous piece of art there. Now, one thing about this book is you come to find out, spoiler alerts, I mean, this is what, 20, oh my God, wait, no, 10 years, let's say not 20, 10 years old now, but Dr. Hurt is the new Thomas Wayne. Now, when Batman got shot by Darkseid, it sent him into the past. And so Bruce is trying to leave clues throughout time. And he kind of comes across ancestors. There's an ancestor called Thomas Wayne, not his father, but a forefather. What am I thinking? Ancestor. Brr. And he's like a devil cult worshiper. And he starts worshiping Barbatos. Sound familiar? Right? But he's able to traverse time like Randall Savage. And he ends up meeting our Thomas Wayne. Thomas Wayne tries to take care of him because there's something wrong with him. I don't remember what. But Dr. Hurt comes to despise it and hate it and wants to sully the Wayne name. So he wants to take over Thomas Wayne and make his family look like drug addicts and just everything under the sun and try to just sully that name, which is horrible but makes for some good storytelling because you're like, what's going to happen? He even tells Damian here, he goes, the legacy of Batman will be one of monstrous failure and perversion. I will be Batman in my great black car, preying on the weak in Gotham's endless nights. And you, a very different kind of Robin. But something happens when he opens the casing for this Barbatos box, and you see, gotcha. Now, what happens here? I highly recommend, ladies and gentlemen, and friends and fellow comic book readers, pick up this series, either in the floppies like I did, or the collected trades. This was something special at the time. People were eating this up because everyone has always said that if Bruce Wayne died or retired, Dick Grayson should pick up the mantle. And that's what happens in this book, and Grant Morrison delivered. I don't know if anybody else at this time could have pulled it off. And introducing Damian when he did, it was just the right dynamic because we have Dick, who grew up with Bruce, who endured, the hardships of Bruce Wayne's training, but still was kind of a free spirit. Listened to Bruce, learned from him, took the good parts of Bruce Wayne, but still kept a lot of his humanity, as where Bruce kind of let a lot of his go. So kind of seeing now this new Batman with someone that's closer to how Bruce is as the younger Robin, and this Dick Grayson having to raise him, it's just a very excellent dynamic, and just I can't praise it enough in terms of like great storytelling, and then all the artists that he chose for these, just awesomeness. This was a great series. I highly recommend it. Speaking of, this book right here was donated to the club. So this will be in one of our grab bags. So whoever gets it, I hope you enjoy reading it as much as I have reading it and reviewing it. For everyone else, if you don't want to wait for one of our events to try your hand at the grab bag, please first and foremost support your comic shop and pick this up. If you've enjoyed this review, we really would appreciate it if you take a moment to hit like, share, and subscribe. Helps the club channel more than you could possibly know. And if you wouldn't mind hitting that fancy little bat bell next to subscribe, that way as we continue to upload content, you guys can come to the channel. Love talking with y'all and hearing your feedback down in the comments below or on our social media pages, which I'll make sure to leave the links down in the description. So with all that said, thank you so much for stopping by. Hope y'all continue to have an absolutely amazing day reading, and happy hunting, true believers.